Welcome from our side. As promised, I will try to stick with the 10 minutes. If anyone is here who knows me, normally if I say I stay on time, I never work it out. So I think the last event we had, I promised 45 minutes and it took me 1.5, but I will try to stay in time. Let's make it interactive. Who was there in the first part of the presentation when my colleague was talking about the cloud? Okay, I tried to skip some slides so you don't have to listen to it again. What is important on how we are positioning ourselves, and you have seen those slides, we're the only company right now in the IT market who is owning the complete stack, offering the complete stack storage to the application. Why is that so important? I will show you later because my topic is mainly what we call engineered systems. It is important to understand dynamics from all of their views. We had heard a lot about cloud computing and how cloud computing works, and I love to hear this is how you provision applications. One of the important things is this is all from companies that do not write applications. So how do they know how to provision applications? How do they change applications to be deployed in a cloud? They don't. They give you an infrastructure. And actually, as a complete stack vendor, we can have a total different look in the whole stack itself. So it looks a little bit different. We had that slide before, and I just use it as a starting point. This is how we see the market, and this is actually how we actually offer our own products. The classic one is the component business. So that is our offering to you. You can run any Oracle solution on any kind of platform that we support. That is your choice. You can use any kind of hardware we are offering and can run any kind of software on that. Is that the future model, the long-term model? No, because we're talking about cloud. The other part is optimized, where we look into how can we deploy application solutions better on a particular platform, certify it, and reduce the time to solution. Nice too, still not the last stage. And the last stage is what we introduced with Exadata. And let's make it interactive again. Who has heard of Exadata before? 1, 2, okay, the Oracle guy has heard of it, that's good. Who has heard of a product called Exalogic? Who has heard of Oracle? Okay, I'm just checking. I have to have some probes on that. So what we are trying to achieve in engineered systems. So those are the next 6 minutes that I have left on what we are trying to do. A little bit of IT. We had heard a lot of presentations today, and what I love in IT presentations is that half of it's prediction. So we have heard in the next 10 years, this is exploding, that is exploding, the market will go in this and that direction. Who has heard of a guy called Alan Kay? No one, I guess. Okay, that guy is famous for 2 things. So first, whoever of you is programming, an active programmer, Java, C, whatever it is, Alan Kay for a long time has defined how programming languages are actually interacting with hardware pieces. So that is nothing where you get famous for. But he's famous for another thing. He was working for a company called Xerox, nearly 35 years ago. And there's a funny fact, he was working for a team in Palo Alto that had the idea in computing, you know what, that command line interface is not really business friendly. So what do you think of inventing what we call a graphical user interface? So with Windows, with icons, all of this. The same team under his lead did another thing, they invented the mouse. We know this stuff right now. The funny thing is he went to his senior management later on and they told him, because yes, of course, senior management in IT companies knows the future, that has no future, so we will never make a product out of it. Funny thing is, later on, a guy called Steve Jobs went around and saw exactly the same, copied it and called it Mac OS, and invented the Apple II, and later on another guy came around and saw the Apple II and called it then Windows. And this is what we are all using. So much for predictability when it comes to solutions. But one funny thing is we all talk about cloud computing, so an older stack. So how honestly does right now within our own companies, within your companies, IT work? So normally we make a business decision. So right now we call everything as a service. So before we just decided for an application, right now we are on a service. So what is happening? We make the business decision to run a certain application for the business, to make more money, to make things more efficient in the company. This is what we do. So now we're all in the cloud, so we just deploy it. I don't see that. I don't know any company which just say, oh yeah, we make a new application, we just deploy it. It's just on there in 2 days. Doesn't happen. What do we do? So you had a lot of those speakers today. We call what we call best of breed. So we call the best of breed server vendor. That's the first thing we do. And guess what? All the vendors come to you and they have the best of breed solution for that application you want to run. I've never seen a single hardware vendor coming around, I'm only third best, but I want you to buy me. So we all have the best solution when it comes to the systems and service. So then we call the storage guys, because storage is a huge factor of that too. And guess what? All the storage guys have, again, best of breed solutions. And then we call the networking guys, and guess what? They have best of breed solutions. And the funny thing is, that process takes us 3 to 6 months. We talk to a lot of vendors, we talk to a lot of people, then normally procurement comes in and talks to that people again to get a little bit more discount and all of this. And where do we actually end up with that concept? We call it a unique system. You end up with a solution that is only applicable to you. And we're an application vendor, we know that. You might have the best of breed server, the best of breed storage system, the best of breed networking, but you're the only one. And whatever is in the middle, virtualization or whatever, that doesn't change that part because you run an application. A server itself is not solving a business issue. Storage itself is not solving a business issue. So we wasted 6 months to deploy something else later on where we have a lot of hassle to run the application on, where we actually rely on. But we talk all about the cloud. So the funny thing is, I normally try to, let's go one on, the car industry. We had this in our other presentation. How do we buy cars? Everybody has a car? We're in Qatar, come on. That's simply not fair. I did the same presentation in Kuwait. They didn't show their hands because I have 5. So we have all cars. But how do you buy cars? You go and say, I want a sports car. Then you prefer 3 vendors and buy the sports car. Or I need an SUV, I need a family car, whatever it is. I need a transporter, this is how you buy cars. How do we do it in IT? This way. So we would take, again, best of breed components. So we would go to our friends at Brembo, we would go for a gearbox vendor, a tire vendor, a steering wheel vendor, an engine vendor. Even the engine would have different components. We'd get all this stuff within a month into our garage and build it by ourselves. And this is then efficient. And you know what is happening? And that's the other funny thing. The second it's not working, who do we call? So we go on the road, it doesn't work again. So who do I call when I have all the components? We do it like in the IT industry. Let's call the server vendor. So what is the server vendor saying the first time? Oh, it's not us, it's the storage guys. The storage guys will tell you, yes, we know that, but there is a bug coming, a badge coming for that bug in 3 months. When you then put on this fix, then the application vendor is telling you, but it's not yet certified with that fix, and please change the firmware on your storage switch because that is not certified with your storage. Really nice. With a car, it would be really funny. So you would end up in a very, very strange configuration. In IT, we do that. And the funny thing is, we still do that. We think in projects. We think in that. So talking about the cloud is a very nice topic, but this is how companies work right now. So we were looking into what shall we do for our customers to give them a platform that actually solves that issue to a certain degree. And this is when we looked into engineered systems. And engineered systems is a little bit a total different approach than what you see in the market. Why? We have one big benefit. We don't just have one component. In that example, we had an application that wanted to run. So we have heard a lot to this day, virtualization is the key. Tell me, please, what does virtualization actually really solve? If you have an issue with your application, it doesn't matter if it's physically deployed or virtualized deployed. It might use less resources and this is more efficient, but it doesn't solve a business issue. It solves an issue on how you deploy it. But actually your application, if it's not working, it doesn't work on a virtual machine as well as on a physical machine. That is not business solving. That is one infrastructure, and that's nice. When we looked into that, okay, where shall we start? So first, okay, engineered systems, quite easy. We use state-of-the-art hardware. Good news for you, we didn't go into the stock and bought, what do we have around here? Let's go there. But what we did, and that is the key factor we changed our application, we changed our database, we changed our solution to run better and more optimized on those systems. And how can you do that? You have to own that kind of application. So if you implement those optimizations to a certain kind of hardware, you get the benefits out of that. So, funny thing is, and I will not go into details because I don't have all the time, when we introduced Exadata, we're 10 times faster in the same amount of hardware than anyone else is half the price. We have proven that. We have sold over 1,000 systems in 2.5 years. We're close with the sales rate of any big risk Unix system for companies that do that for 30 years plus. And we sold it to the big as well as to the smaller companies, and they're more than happy with it. And what is one key factor on that? 1,000 systems. Guess what? 1,000 systems are identical, which means those customers running databases, one database or hundreds of databases, if they find an issue with the system and we solve it for 909 customers on one go. So we standardized the platform. The other thing is we looked into was, where is data center computing really going? We hear a lot of cloud computing. And the first thing I think is when I hear trillions of data, millions of users. So we heard 4.5 billion people will be online at the same minute and they will all do the same, and we will even put our heart rates now on Facebook because we can live monitor them. That's a lot of traffic. And guess what? If I go to the average data center, I find 1G Ethernet as the standard server-to-server interconnectivity. Some companies are now on 10G Ethernet. So, guess what? Ethernet is a 30-year-old technology. IP is a technology that was made to connect computers with each other, not high-end servers. So the funny thing is, shouldn't we solve that bottleneck first before we start to deploy hundreds of services and then have to wait as a client half an hour to get it loaded? The other thing is what we looked into, and that's another nice thing in the industry, and I cite our boss, Larry Ellison. The IT industry is a little bit like the fashion industry. We try to rename everything every 5 years, and then we call everything the cloud, what was server client computing before and what was virtualization before. So everything is now the cloud, but that's not the fact. But the funny thing is on storage. So for years we were talking about storage virtualization, storage consolidation. You remember that? So remember that presentation? We put everything into one big storage system and thousands of servers are connected. 2 minutes. Thousands of servers are connected. They're even booting from those storage systems. You remember that? Who has implemented that way? No hands? Who has a storage area network? Okay. Who is happy with it? The funny thing is, it simply is a nice marketing idea, but have you ever seen the management overhead of storage area networks? Different drivers, the telephone books of what is certified and not certified, and then you end up with a technology which is again 30 years old. We're using hard drives. Hard drives are 60 years old. And it's still the same concept of the phonograph. It's a rotating spindle. And again, we're going to the cloud, but we have billions of users going there. So we changed that to a certain degree, and those are my last words on that slide, and I will keep it there. We moved away from Ethernet and storage area networks and fiber channel to InfiniBand. And there is a funny thing with InfiniBand. When we started that, it comes from the supercomputing world. It connects memory to memory, server to server, storage to storage, can run networking protocols, and the version we use here, and that's the smallest, is giving you 40 gigs a second on throughput. So an Exadata, just to get you the number, a database server gives you 960 gigs a second throughput. Then I can handle billions of users. Then I can handle as a bank millions of transactions. So there is a lot of things you have to actually allocate. So why is this not happening everywhere? Because normally, if you don't own the whole stack, the whole implementation is very, very complex. So on the last part, and this is what I finish here, we optimize the stack to run on that kind of solution. So I'm more than happy to discussions on that. So as said, we have 1,000 customers. We're very, very successful, but we believe the cloud will take some time. Bring the infrastructure in place, standardize, we heard that before, but standardize with someone who really knows the whole stack and not just one part of it, because that will be your central infrastructure in the future. Any questions so far? Because I have to leave early. I have this early flight too. You can buy it online, oracle.com/exadata. Thank you.